here, and I'm trying to find. I have our new counselor-elect, Ronnie White here. I got Rita here, and who else I have here? I got the city auditor. Okay, Commissioner, I'm going to hand it over to you, but I didn't realize that we had so many different, and this is my fault, so many different items for to peruse and for our agenda items. But I'd like to today. I'd like to specifically sort of talk about the fees. So could we start off with the fees, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Counselor. And I'd really like if we can in the 30 minutes do the deer tick management too, because that's also time sensitive. But
let me ask any of the counselors on this call, do you have any specific questions about the deer management? Why don't you run through the deer management real quick?
Sure. There's three pieces of legislation that are attached to this, and it is time sensitive because we had success last year making progress. So we have three items. One's for the seeker, one's for reactivating or renewing our contract with USDA, which is our wildlife management, and renewing a contract as well with the venison processor. These are all required. And once these get approved, or hopefully they get approved, ideally we would start that program end of this month, early December. But okay. Nothing's changing about the process of how we did it last year.
Okay, and we ended up with Councilor Driscoll told me we ended up with like 100 last cycle, about 180 deer, something like that.
I think it's 159. I think it's 159, give or take, and it provided about 16,000 meals to those in need.
Okay,
Janet, you're not on mute, but I love that. I heard you say, "Wow."
Do any of my fellow counselors have any questions about this particular item? These particular items?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Councilor Hogan, can I jump in? Because I'm on the County Deer Task Force. Commissioner, what's the budget request from the city to the county this year?
So the budget request is $55,000.
Okay, so same as last year?
Yes.
Okay, so I haven't looked at the county budget yet. I know the county exec submitted his budget to the legislators on November 4th. Our last deer tick and management meeting in October, we letter to him requesting to make sure that it was going to be, the dollars were going to be there to continue for not only the city, but for the other municipalities. And there were some carryover funds. So I'm assuming there's money there.
My understanding is that there was 60,000 in the budget that was just presented, and I had the same understanding that there was leftover funds, but it has not been determined in my understanding of how it's to be allocated between the municipalities.
Okay. Yes, our task force would determine that, but I'll check the county budget and then I'll get back to you if I see there's any problems.
Okay, Councilor Pangarara, Councilor White, do you have any questions regarding this at all?
No. No, we're good.
Okay, you're okay with the deer? Good. Okay, so let's go to the fees, Commissioner.
Okay, so we are requesting, now these, I want to specify again, that these are fees that we don't want to change what you want to call our core services. You know, we're not touching community centers. We're not touching pools, people coming and swimming for free. We are requesting changes to what we consider extras. We start with Clinton Square. We have numbers for you, not tied to specific events, but just examples. But just so you know, all those big events, every big event that you see in Clinton Square, the city puts an enormous amount of resources into these events with staff time, water to fill the barrels that hold the tents down, generators, power, you name it. It's the fire department, the police department, DPW, and the Parks Department. We are in no way requesting that these would become self-sufficient for these, that full compensation should come to the city, because we just know that these organizations could not do that. But we do think that paying $30 to be there for multiple days is just not responsible. We're not trying to push any organization out. We did actually, from 2 weeks ago to this time, we did add a nonprofit rate because we realized that we don't want to treat a Taste of Syracuse the same way that we would treat a Polish festival, Italian festival, Latino festival. We don't want to treat them the same, but we do think that there should be more onus on these organizations. And quite frankly, if they can't pay this, if their event is not large enough, we have other spaces that they should probably consider moving to that are still going to host just as great of an event. So,
Could you, Commissioner, do you have a possibility of sharing the screen regarding these fees or not?
I don't.
Some ability. I mean, because
You're
I'm not
testing
sure.
my limit. You're testing my limits right now. I don't know. I think you guys would have to grant me that access, but I also would have to pull that up. Hold on. I think, Jimmy, would you be the one, Jimmy Conroy, to share screen? I don't know who would have to share it with me. And I don't know that
Just pull it up on your screen. At the bottom of your screen now, there's a share button.
Oh, all right. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hold on. All right, maybe. Did that do anything?
No, that's great.
Okay. All right. So what you have here is this is a 2-page, well, it's basically a 1-page document now. So you guys approved the Clinton Square admission and rental of the ice skates at the last meeting. We thank you for that. But so I don't know if you want to, Councilor Hogan, go through this, category by category with any questions?
Let's go category by category. You just talked about the special events permit, that we do for the large special events in Clinton Square. Is there any questions on that from Councilor White, Councilor Pangaragel? I'm sorry, Rita. I just can't get your name together sometimes.
Actually, it's misspelled in the name tag. That's probably why you're having such trouble. It's Paniagua.
It's okay. I've been hit in the mouth too many times in my life, I guess. So is there any questions? You guys have any questions on that?
No, I don't have any questions. But this is something that Julie brought up in our last meeting, that this is something that is it provisional for now because we're in such dire financial conditions, or is it something that will be permanent moving forward from here on? Because we do want to keep, the cultural activities downtown and enjoy the diversity that the city has. So, that's would be my only worry, that then these things would drift away from happening, number one, or I don't know.
So I would like to request just to because people can understand numbers. So Brittany, if you don't mind, pick a smaller, you have a full breakdown of it. Pick one of the smaller events. And we have calculated over the years what the city services cost is. So Brittany, if you're there, can you unmute yourself and give us a few numbers?
Yep. So I'll give you a number for just a 1-day festival that takes place from about 11 to 7 on a Saturday. That costs $6,400. For your average 2-day festival, that runs us about $15,000. 3-day festival, you're looking at about $20,000. And mind you, this is just staff costs. This does not include water, any utilities for all the power we provide, generator. It does not include any of those. This is just sheer manpower to put it on, what we pay employees to make these festivals happen.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
I had a lot of years, Rita, in the city parks department. At the end, I ran all the special events. There is no other place that provides more services in this immediate area.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and let me tell you, I am not opposed to this at all.
Yeah.
I am supporting this. I was just bringing up a comment, just to make sure that maybe moving forward, if we're in better conditions, maybe case by case, we could do something different.
And
but I do get it.
I want to comment too that we're trying to be responsible by putting this towards the council now for hopeful approval of that, because no, we don't know what next summer will look like, but let's go with the optimistic assumption that we can have events next summer. This will give those organizing groups ample time to make that adjustment. We would never want to do this to them in March, 3 months before they have an event.
And Julie, maybe it's important to, when we put this information out there for the festival productions and organizers, I mean, to let them know how much it really does cost the city to have these things, because sometimes there's just no perception of that.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I used to do the Latin American Festival. I did that for about 10 years here in Clinton Square. And sometimes we lose perspective of that.
Right, and we're not complaining about doing it. I mean, that's what's so great about Clinton Square, right? I mean, it's a draw. People love, pick your festival, it's your favorite, and people love coming down for that, or Inner Harbor, or even now in City Hall steps. We all know what the city's situation is right now. It just seems a little more. It's our opinion that it's a little more responsible to try to recoup a little bit more of these fees.
I am in touch.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay. So Counselor, are you good with
Yes.
Can I
okay.
ask a question before you move on, Councilor?
Sure.
Oh, sure, Council President.
Okay. I'm asking this question because maybe you can answer this for me, Julie. I know that when they use Meacham, I may have the wrong sport, but I know that the county uses our facility down in Meacham as well as we do. I know that we charge for that. So are the prices going to go up for the county versus the city?
Do you mean Clinton Square or do you mean Meacham?
No, I mean Meacham.
Oh, so you,
Because I think
President Hudson, you're talking about the Meacham ice skating rinks, or are you talking about the
It's
field?
I'm talking about all of it because I know that a lot of their sports organizations use Meacham,
Ice or Valley Turf?
both.
I don't know if I understand. Okay, so Joe, are you on here? Joe and Trevor?
Yeah, I'm on here. I don't understand actually the premise of it's not the county per se. It's like youth organizations and groups. It's not the county.
Right. Well, a lot of the outside youth organizations are coming in from the county as well. And I thought that there was two separate prices.
Are you talking about, okay, so looking at, I'm still sharing the screen, I'm assuming I can't see it, but you're talking about the resident organization and the non-resident organization on this proposal?
Yes.
Okay, so we would like to define, we want to work with a definition, but in our mind, definition is that nonprofit or is that organization based in the city of Syracuse? If so, then they would get the resident rate.
Yeah, there's two different rates, President Hudson. There's a resident rate and a non-resident rate for Meacham ice rinks.
Referring to because I knew there were two different rates. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We do think that residents should, get a lower rate.
Right. So.
Are there any other questions about Meacham?
No.
Okay.
Let's go to the adult league as far as the permits go. As far as youth and adult league permits.
Okay, so I want to stress that this is just the permit fee. There are already approved fees. So it says grass field and turf field. That's just the permit fee. That's not an hourly fee for the rental. That we're not proposing any changes to that. This is just the permit fee. And the reasoning behind this is we will have youth organizations have the best intentions that, let's just say any Pop Warner in the city, they have best intentions that they're going to get a record attendance and they're going to need the field for 4 days a week. So they put in a permit for 4 days a week for 4 months. They get low attendance. They really only need the field for 1 day a week. Meanwhile, we are maintaining this field for 4 days a week because that's what we think. And they also don't want to give up the time and we can't force them because we don't know if it's true or not. We're turning away potential revenue from people who want that space and it's not being used. So we want to charge by the day of the reservation. And I don't mean every day of the week, meaning if you wanted to be the month of January, February, March, and only on Mondays, this proposal means you just would pay $50. not $50 each week, but just $50. If you wanted to have your permit list Mondays and Tuesdays of those 3 months, it would be $100. We want to come up with some way so that these groups stop doing what we call as a blanket permit, which means they just said, yep, I'm going to be there 6 days a week, because it expends our resources. It stretches our staff, because if we don't need to maintain a field until Monday, but we think we need to maintain it on Thursday, grounds department could be doing other work. It puts us behind in everything that we do. So that's part of the justification behind this. Any questions about that?
No, I don't have any.
And then the
Any.
other thing that we added in here, which I don't think we did not include 2 weeks ago when this was put together, is Burnett indoor turf. There's been a lot of conversations for this one specifically, a nonprofit rate. So you'll see the approved rate by council is currently $150 for the first hour, $75 for every hour after that. And that's additional hours within the permit, not within the day. We've heard from a lot of nonprofits that is too much for them. So we're okay proposing basically half that. So $75 for the first hour, $40 every hour after that.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Julie, when would these fees, hey, it's Ronnie, when would these fees go into effect?
So I didn't put one on there. So for Meacham, we would like to do moving forward. So anybody who already has a reservation, we're not going to call them and say, hey, you now owe us more money. That's actually a good point. I can come up with the date. So Clinton Square, I would like to say January 1. I can submit a new letter with these dates, because that's a good point. And thank you for bringing that up. I didn't think of that. We could do January 1 for all of these if the council's agreeable to that.
Okay. What do you say, Ronnie? Rita? Okay.
I'm good with that. Yeah,
Sure.
that's definitely a great suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least we give them some
That's
planning
okay.
time. Now, the last one, I think, is probably, we've never done that before, to my knowledge. We've done something similar. So, Commissioner, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, the special events attendance fee?
So the reasoning behind this is that, especially this year, this week when we're in the yellow zone and we can only have 25 people, the Parks Department still wants to safely offer programming. We've offered Big Rig Day. In the past, we do a haunted house. We do holiday hay rides. We want to, let's say in the spring, capacity is 100 people. We still will need to pre-register people. Our events are enormously popular. 500 to 1,000, or you name it, come to these events. If we say it's a pre-registration basis, but there's no fee, people will just call and they won't show up. But meanwhile, we've turned other people away. There's just going to be no way for us to safely, but we also have to do a registration, because we say limited to the first 100 people, 500 people show up. How do you turn kids away at the door? So the idea is that when people have money, they are going to be more likely to show up. We only want to be using this as an option in this type of instance when we have to limit the amount of people that can come to the event. When we hopefully get back to a normal world, when it can just be limitless, we don't want to charge people. We don't want to.
So Julie, I see here that you have 2 per person and 10 per family. So that's taking in consideration that some of these families are big,
Yeah, and honestly, we're not going to get into show us, a bill showing that you're all at the same address. We're not going to get into that. I just think even if somebody pays $10, they're going to be more than likely to come.
Okay.
Years ago, when I was with the parks, we had to inaugurate a fee like this for swimming lessons, because we had the same issue. We had lifeguards waiting there. People had said they were coming. They never showed up. But the minute we started charging, let me tell you, there's nothing
fun about working an event and you have to turn a family away. I mean, because the staff from this department are the ones who do that, and there's nothing fun about that. And that's the scenario that we would be in if we do get to where we can do an Easter egg hunt, or we can do some kind of spring program, we don't want to be in that situation. Not that people can't pay $10 and still not show up. I just think they're going to be more likely to show up.
Yeah, it's a placeholder fee, basically.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Well, and then also it's, what if we had 500 people say they're going to show up and 10 come, but meanwhile the city's put out all this, we've purchased all these expenses too. So, we really should get something. Again, we're not going to balance what we're paying. It's a free event, but
Commissioner, I think on this legislation, it's important to list an example of some of these events you might use the special attendance fee for, if
Okay,
you could, you know.
okay.
What
That's
about my
the fee.
fellow counselors? Do you have any other questions on
Just
this
one.
legislation?
If even if people pay or to go to an event and they are unfashionably late and there's another family that could, participate well, on time, is there like a time limit,
So I imagine a scenario that we would do something like that where you have to pay in advance, and we would say that if you are not there by quarter after, you have forfeited your space. If other people show up, we would do something like that. And that's not a means to get more money. I mean, that would just be a means to serve more people.
And Julie, if I may, how have you thought about how this is going to be implemented? I.e., how are you going to collect the monies to reserve the spots?
So that's a great question, and I'll give you an example that will start in 2 weeks. So right now, Clinton Square ice rink, we would take 200 people on the ice, right? But right now, the new yellow zone is 25 people, including our staff. So we'll say one person on staff, 24 people. So we are going into a system where we are going to use our rec software, and people will pay for this. It's going to be credit card pay in advance. So
Okay.
just like they're doing at the zoo, just like they're doing. We heard Lights on the Lake is doing it too. They'll have to go online, it's mobile friendly, and pay for it that way.
Okay, and what about people that don't have access to a credit card?
So, I mean, hopefully we're going to be hopefully we'll get to a point where we can have some facility open to the public. If we can get to there, then we can take cash and still put it in the same system.
Okay.
It wouldn't be 24 hours a day, but it would be during office hours that we could take people's registration.
Sure. And just thinking about, the cost that this might, be to people, I'm just wondering, would there be a way, since you're doing it using the software and possibly credit cards, to whereby you could pre-authorize the charge and then only charge them if they don't show up?
We do have a feature in our software with a wait list. We could look into that.
Because it seems to me if the idea is to secure that, people actually show up for the reservations. I mean, if it's not supposed to be revenue raising, I think it might be better served as a penalty rather than as a hold your place in line.
I do think that we have the capabilities with our system to do that, but yes, because our system allows people to do because it works for fitness centers and things like that too, that it would hold credit card information not viewable to us, which is a good safe feature there. But so we've never used that feature, but I do think that feature exists.
Okay. We, just as a way of caution, remember that the audience that we're dealing with is very, they're very poor, most of them, and to place an amount on a card that probably either they don't have one or it's empty. So
it is troubling on our end too to think of it that way. But I mean, how do we offer a program with only 25 people who can show up?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because that's where we are right now, and I think that's where we're going to be for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, so we could, and I could throw back to you guys, the council too, just like 2 weeks ago, when you wanted me to pull some of it off. If you're only comfortable with the first 3 categories of this and you're not comfortable with the 4th, tell me and we can pull that off if you feel that we need more discussion or more time or more. We don't have any special events immediately planned right now.
Sure. Before we go that far, I don't want to insert myself too much in this process, but I'm just wondering, have there been any instances during this shutdown whereby you had to turn people away or people didn't show up to a pre-registered event or something like that?
So we were moving forward with the haunted house. The haunted house we were going to do as a free reservation system, but unfortunately the county health department, because things were starting to escalate, we ended up not having that event, but we were very much anticipating that was a scenario that we were going to face. But no, it hasn't happened yet.
So, Commissioner, if we could, maybe we'll pull this until we need it, special event attendance fee, and bring it back to the council. You'll be able I mean,
I would assume that the spring is when we would start
yeah. So
planning
you can,
any event, so we could pull this, we could bring this back February or so.
yeah, everything else. And I know you got some other items I want to talk with in the next 5 minutes too.
Okay.
Jim, who's coming on at 1:30 anyways? Jimmy?
Public Works.
Okay. I don't want
The
to,
rest of my items should not be, I mean, I shouldn't say that it shouldn't generate a lot of questions, but they should.
you have the lockers and you got,
Yeah, the
You got-
lockers is just a standard every year. We do have lockers at Clinton Square and the company gives us 10% of it. It's $100 or $200. It'll be even less this year, but this is just a formality to enter into contract with them.
okay. And then we can skip to the Red Cross, the certified and recertified lifeguards, correct?
So that this got overlooked, I will say, in the summertime when we were opening the pools quickly, but this is in order for us to certify, this is required. I mean, this is a really important legislation for us to have an agreement with Red Cross so that we can certify guards. And we collect money on payment made out to Red Cross and then we submit it to them. So
Okay.
this one does go back to July 1.
And then we have the donation for $200 to the Anglers Association.
Yes, they've been great. They are aware of the financial situation we're in, so they purchased bracelets on their own and sold them by donation.
Counselors, are there any questions about those 3 items?
I'm all set.
Okay. What about you, Ronnie? You okay? And then we have this, I might just reject this out of just general principles, Trump fight or Trump light. What the heck?
Think trumpets. Think
Oh,
trumpets.
trumpets. Okay. We didn't mean the current
Trumpets.
occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They've been very popular. I know it's a rough few years to have them booked, but they've been very popular. This is part of the virtual tree lighting, so this one's also time sensitive. And I don't like saying time sensitive, but unfortunately, this tree lighting, we've had to do a lot in a little bit of time. But we would like to pay them to be recorded professionally for the virtual tree lighting.
Okay, so they're a group that they're all play the trumpet and they're being.
I don't know the exact. We've had them at tree lighting the last few years. They have great energy. They were very well received.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're good stuff, Hogan. Take it from the musician.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Okay, Joe. But I think they should change their name, maybe. But so we don't have a problem with it,
If you want to put some legislation for it, I'm all in on that. I'll support that.
Thanks, Counselor Driscoll.
And then I think there's just one more that I know Janet's on here, but it shouldn't need a lot of explanation. But basically, Webster's Pond is getting a grant for $5,000, and they just need to change the size of their platform. So I think this is just amending the contract, amending the ordinance. And Janet, you can correct me if I'm wrong. No, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay, Parks Committee, are there any other questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a vote to forward all these items passed out of the standing committee. The motion,
I'm good. Yeah.
you're good? What about you, Mr. Driscoll? Counselor Driscoll?
I'm fine
Okay.
with all of them. Yep.
You want to chime in too, Counselor White? I don't think you're a member of this committee. You're just joined us, but what do you think?
I don't believe that I am, so I'm good on that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I didn't want to leave you out there, Ronnie. That's all. Okay. So,
Leave me out, huh, Pat?
well, what? No, what do you think, President Hudson?
I'm just playing.
Okay. Okay. Apologize to everybody. I didn't have it together today, but it's most of you know, it's a sometime thing sometimes. So, okay. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Commissioner or Counselor Green. You going to start now, Counselor?
Yeah, well, over to Councilor Carney, who's the new